Last week was awesome, I heard, yes. Any other words? Heavy came to mind. Deep, rough, yes. I'm hoping for a little lighter fare this evening. Okay. Yeah, so tonight we are talking about Undercover Christian. Yes. And what? Well, that's a good question. What does it mean to be an undercover Christian? What? Segways are weird. This is what I'm hearing.
Awesome. I was saying, this is ask a question.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just going to say that somebody who is a Christian but doesn't actually show that.
Yes. This is what we're going to be talking about today. I want to kill your cord. So, now, as I was thinking about being an undercover Christian, being an undercover agent, these kinds of ideas were floating around in my mind. And Friday night, I had an awesome experience watching a bunch of old movies.
Movies.
And as I thought more about it, I actually had the idea of, well, who has the clicker?
Clicker. Dunford.
Take the survey. Hold on.
But I need more clicking. Clicking.
Like there's a remote here.
And one person came to mind
Dunford.
as I considered this idea of being undercover. Of course, the person I'm thinking of.
Woohoo! Which one though?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I'm actually going to be showing you, it has gotten to a tight race between Craig and Connery, myself, but I have a nice little montage of Connery. So, is the audio ready? So, again, it's a tight race between Craig now and Connery. But, as I consider going undercover, there's this idea of being a, secret agent, right? Well, if you go around town and you're telling everybody you meet what your real name is,
that's dangerous.
I feel like you're kind of missing the point of being a secret agent, right? I'm sorry if I ruined James Bond for you. I will repent of it later. All right. So, tonight we're going to be talking about how we are agents of sorts. Yes, indeed, yes. And the question at hand is, should we be undercover or should we not be? See, we live in a culture where it's very easy to be Christian in an outward way and not be any different at all, right? We can get up on Sundays, go to church, and then throughout the rest of the entire week, we look like everybody else. It's very simple. Living and acting just like everybody else. The thing is, this is hardly the first generation to have struggled with the question of how we should be following Christ. Now, what I want to do is start with a history lesson. It's a story, really, about one of the very first undercover Christians. But I want to set the stage a little bit. Now, in a month, yes, it's March this month, and so next month is April. Okay. For those of us who get to enjoy it, it's tax month. Anyway, and some people might know what big Christian holiday might be coming up. Easter, yes. The day you were confirmed, yes. Yes. I don't have Christmas presents ready if it was Christmas. Yeah, clearly. All right, so we have Easter. Now, what is the significance of Easter?
End of Ash Wednesday.
End of Lent, yes. You know you're on the right path, okay. Why is that significant?
Jesus rose.
Jesus rose,
As he loves you. No, he doesn't.
right? So how does that whole week go? We call it Holy Week, right? Last year, 2 years ago, we did a Tridium.
It was last year.
Last year, wow, time flies, right? And what kind of things did we walk through? Yes, Last Supper, crucifixion, whole burial thing, post-crucifixion, right? And then the whole getting resurrection thing, yeah, kind of a big deal. Yeah, rock rolls away, yeah. Big things, right? Now, what's interesting, and we're just going to talk about a little piece of this, but I wanted to kind of get it in your, what we're talking about, the storyline here, okay? We're just going to be talking about a little piece of it, and it involves a guy named Peter. Do we know who Peter is?
A person that was a friend of Jesus.
Yes. Excellent. What? No, that's Dwayne. That's Dwayne. That's a different rock.
He's a rock.
All right, so there's a piece of the overarching last few days of Christ's life, a piece of the story that relates directly to what we're talking about here tonight, okay? I'm going to read you the first part, and then I'll read you the second part. This is Matthew 26. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Yes. When they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus told them, "This very night you will all fall away on account of me. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered." So he's talking about the disciples, right? He's the shepherd. They're going to scatter. Yeah. Okay. "But after I have risen, I will go ahead of you into Galilee." Peter, that's Peter, right? Replied, "Even if all fall away on account of you, I never will." It's quite a bold statement. "Truly I tell you," Jesus answered, "this very night, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. But Peter declared, "Even if I have to die with you, I will never disown you." And all the other disciples said the same. Yeah. That's not, yeah. It played out the way Jesus said it was going to play out. So let's go ahead and let's jump ahead here a little bit. "Now Peter was sitting out in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him." Okay, so he's sitting in the courtyard. Jesus has already been arrested, right? Peter kind of followed them. He's in the courtyard of where Jesus is being held, kind of hiding a little bit, right? So the servant girl came up to him. "You also were with Jesus of Galilee," she said. But he denied it before them all. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said. How many times is that? 1. Okay. Then he went out to the gateway, where another servant girl saw him, and said to the people there, "This fellow was with Jesus of Nazareth." He denied it again, with an oath. "I don't know the man." Now when it says with an oath, when somebody, he probably threw a swear word out there. So how many times is that? 2. All right. After a little while, those standing there went up to Peter and said, "Surely you are one of them. Your accent gives you away." Right? So when somebody has an accent, we kind of get a clue whereabouts, where they're from, right? Then he began to call down curses, and he swore to them, "I don't know the man." 3, I kind of get the feeling that he's a bit of a hothead. So like he's really playing it up to make sure that they understand that he is not with this guy named Jesus. And then immediately the rooster crowed. Then Peter remembered the word Jesus had spoken. "Before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. And he went outside and wept bitterly. Yeah. Not an auspicious start. When at the very, just hours before, he said he would even die before before he disowned Jesus. Yeah. So, why would he have been afraid for this group of people to have found out that he was actually with Jesus? They might have executed him, yeah? I mean, execution's probably, maybe a bit extreme. I mean, he was just a follower. But they probably would have detained him, arrested him, probably would have had him beaten.
Oh my, not nice stuff.
Not nice stuff. Yeah. Maybe the Lions. But it would have gone well, right? So he has a legitimate, fear for his life over this whole situation, right? Now, who was it that had Jesus arrested initially? The Jews. Right? Yeah, it was the Pharisees. It was the high council. Now later, when the Christians start doing all these weird things, like they won't say Hail Caesar or Caesar is Lord, the Romans actually get in on this as well, right? You have the Romans starting to persecute Christians. And the Romans, of course, were the people who were in charge of the whole area, right? And so what the Romans started to do was trying to settle these upstarts. They were trying to settle these hot spots where these weird, they're like Jews, but they're not Jews. They talk about the way. I don't know, it's some newfangled religion thing. I don't understand, right? The Romans were actually trying to maintain the norm, right? Status quo. They were trying to maintain the normal things of everyday life. And then you had these weird people who were following this Christ guy, this Messiah thing, who were throwing everything into a tizzy. I like that word, tizzy. Right? Because they go to the marketplace, but they wouldn't do the whole, to enter the marketplace, you had to say Caesar is Lord, right? And it was all very strange, because these weird people were, and so it was just easier to round them up. It's easier to just get rid of them. It wasn't the safest thing to be a Christian at the time. There was the whole killing thing. There was the being beaten thing. Generally not being nice to them. Yeah. So there developed a method to determine if someone was a Christian. Does anybody know the super secret passcode? I see Alec raise his hand.
One person would draw half the fish in the ground in the dirt, and the other person would, if they were a Christian, would draw the other half.
Yes. Everybody figure that one out?
Yeah, I get it.
It would have looked something like this.
He's dead.
So as Alex said, one person would draw one line, The other person would draw the other line, and then you'd know, oh, they're a Christian.
So if I just like walk up to someone and do that in front of them, and they look at me funny, does that mean they're not Christian?
That would be the idea, yeah.
In the Roman world, yes. Not now, probably.
I don't know. You might get some people who actually think it's kind of cool that you're doing that, and they might actually reciprocate. We see the symbol a lot, don't we? Now, what's interesting about this is it wasn't just a passcode. It actually was an acronym. In Greek, and of course I'm sure I'm butchering this, but ictus. Ictus. Okay? This was the Greek word for fish. But it's an acronym which comes into English as Jesus Christ, Son of God, Savior. And they wouldn't just draw it in the ground and try and figure out who else was a Christian. It would actually be, scrawled on doorways and things like that so that people, other Christians would know, oh, this is a Christian household, or this is a place of Christian, this is a place where Christians are welcome to do business. It was bigger than just, one-on-one. It was actually, here's places to connect. And of course, we see this. If I can get it. Hey, all right. All right, everybody seen these? It's clearly a fish, not an eyeball. Now, I do not have one of these on my truck. There is a reason. It may not be what you think.
It ruins the paint.
I'd be okay with it ruining the paint. That's not really a big deal. It's a truck. It gets beat up. That's fine. No, the reason that I don't like having one on my car, and don't misunderstand me. If somebody has it on their car, awesome. More power to you. I am not begrudging this anybody. You're welcome to have it on your car, but I know that I'm going to be the guy who accidentally cuts someone off while I'm driving, and they're going to see, all the Christians are like that. Right? I'm going to be that guy. And of course, I'm not going to know that I did that, and now I just made it that much harder for a gospel message to get through to that driver. Right? Mentally, they have a block saying, all Christians are like that. All Christians are terrible drivers, etc. I know I probably should just have more confidence in my driving ability, but frankly, I don't want to be the embarrassment.
Why did you put it in your car?
Inside my car?
It's a car.
What? I see where you're going with that. Yeah. So as long as I'm not moving, I can be Christian. Yeah. That's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah. But the point being is, I would rather my Christianity come out in a more positive fashion than my cutting someone off, right? I'm getting ahead of myself, but so the way I see it is there are a few options to being Christian. And of course, this isn't to say that you're locked into any one of these, and excuse the pun, but one can cross over from one section to another in different situations. But here's some somewhat general categories that come to mind. Okay, you ready? You've got closet Christians. And of course, this would be where Peter would be, right? He's still in the courtyard. He's still concerned, interested, worried, thinking about Jesus, right? But he's clearly not being very open about it, right? He's hiding away in the closet. Does this imagery make sense? Yes? Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, now you could have the loud and in-your-face Christian, and there's an example of that we've used plenty of times here. This would be the...
I'm full of God's love.
Filled with Christ's love.
Yes! The Bible throwing incident. Right? I'm filled with Christ's love. Let me pelt you with a Bible. I know, but because it's funny. You know, when we actually did this series a couple years ago, we had this video, the evangelist linebacker. The problem is the video is so old, it's of such low quality that it is just not worth showing it on here. But if you want to look it up, it's actually pretty funny. You know those commercials where, actually this is a couple years ago, I don't even know if you guys would have seen this, but the Comcast commercials where it was Urlacher would just like show up and seriously take someone down? Yeah. So picture that, only he was trying to be evangelistic about it. Yeah, so this would be the in-your-face, rub your nose in it, beat you down till you submit. Now, at the end of the day, neither of these tactics are very good, right? They're not very constructive. They're not very effective in the long term. You know, when you break somebody's rib saying Jesus loves you, not awesome. Not awesome, right? And so there's got to be something better than like these two extremes, right? And so as I was thinking about this something else and what this nebulous something else might be, I came across another quote. Actually, it kind of came back to mind as I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that quote from when I was prepping for my breakout for Pause. And now it's actually a really cool quote, so I'll give you a second. Everybody read it? Okay. So this is actually by a Roman Catholic priest, Brennan Manning, and was he a quarterback? No, he was not a member of the Manning.
Yeah, there are Manning segments.
So, Leonard Nimoy, it's very sad. Sorry. All right, I had a moment. I actually got to, sorry, total tangent. I got to see Leonard Nimoy, who was Spock, thank you. I got to see him live at the Rouse Center a few years ago. It was awesome. Yes. I'm sad. All right, moving on. Squirrel, shiny squirrel. So, as I read this quote, on the one hand, there are plenty of people who say that they're Christians who don't seem to live very Christ-like lives, right? That's what he's saying, that's what he's getting at. But on the other hand, Father Manning's statement equally raises kind of the flip side as well. It challenged us to ask a question. It challenged us to ask, are we people who seem to be living Christ-like lives but don't truly believe? Or does this actually mean something? Is this something we actually believe in? Is it something we strive to live out in our lives? We're going to spend some time talking about this in Team Time. Some of those passages are pretty rough to hear, right? They're pretty rough to be listening to. Your lukewarm coffee.
Throw something in a microwave.
The lukewarm one really hits home for me. Because I do have to ask myself, I have to keep myself in check on, okay, am I being lukewarm? Or am I being hot? Or am I being cold? Because, cold coffee can be good too, right? Thank you, Alec, for that connection. It was awesome. Now, I want to look at this quote one more time. And I don't disagree with the quote. But I wanted to actually say that there is a misunderstanding that permeates, that's your word for today, permeates a lot of unbelievers' understandings of Christians. There's this idea that because we're Christians, we are perfect. Yeah, so like from the moment we're baptized, we immediately, have perfect everything. We don't do anything wrong, and of course we think about ourselves as perfect. Thank you, thank you. Right. But in understanding that that is the perspective that they're coming from, yeah, we really do look very hypocritical, don't we? We look like the people exactly like they're talking about us, right? We look like people who are broken, who are still doing bad things, who are still messing things up, who still can't get it right. We're still these people. To which, of course, we say, yeah, that's the point. That's why we're here. Because, how do you say it, Alec? Is he even in here?
We suck.
Get yourself
Thank you.
That's what it
to a
is.
microwave. That's what I want.
Get yourself.
That's the best one. Get yourself to a microwave.
Right? I mean, we're still not perfect.
We do something. It's true.
The key is, very often, the how we are Christians, right? Do we remember this from Pause?
Yes.
We remember the how. I even pulled his slide,
There's one side.
right? This is Ephesians 4:14 to 15. Somebody want to read it for me?
There will no longer be immature then we will no longer be immature like children. We won't be tossed and blown about by every wind of new teaching. We will not be influenced when people try to trick us with lies so clever they sound like the truth. Instead, we will speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body.
So we're not going to shy away from the truth, but how are we going to present it? That doesn't sound like throwing a Bible at somebody, right? And the whole hiding in a closet thing, right? Pretending to be not a Christian in the real world thing. How is that not working with this verse? Yeah, you're not exactly speaking the truth if you're hiding in the closet, right? You'd only be speaking the truth to, well, the wall, right? Or maybe the door, right? Because there's 3 walls and a door.
Ideally.
So you're not speaking the truth in love if you're either of these original 2 options. So we're supposed to be something else, right? And what does that something else look like? We'll see if this rings a bell. This is from Matthew 5. You are the light of the world, like a city on a hill that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand, where it gives light to everyone in the house. Now, what does a light do? Does it tackle people?
Yes, always. It tackles darkness.
Maybe if it's like a flash, right? If you're taking a picture, right? That might hurt a little bit, but generally if you're lighting a lamp, it's not a flash, right? Does it beat people down with a Bible?
Not usually.
No.
It beats darkness down. It can fall off people.
If you think of light on a lamp, from a lamp, what are you doing with the lamp? Lamps are useful for helping you find things, guide you, right? Illuminate things. They are helpful things, right? So what are we to be?
We are lit.
Lamp. We are lamp. Thank you.
I love lamp.
We are to be light in this world, right? Now, for those of you who are wondering what ever happened with Peter, we have a post-resurrection story, right? We have Jesus is walking along the shore, he sees the guys out in the boat, tells them to throw the net on the other side of the boat because they're not having any luck. They throw it over. Oh my goodness, it's so full they can't even get it into the boat. They have to haul it back to the shore to get to the fish. And of course, Peter recognizes who it is. And Jesus and Peter have this moment where Jesus 3 times asks if Peter loves him. Now, there are some people who really dig into the theology of the fact that he says it 3 times, and there's all these different angles and perspectives, but how many times did Peter deny Jesus?
3.
Why is the 3 times significant on Jesus' part? Because it was 3 times, right? Now, we're bound to mess up. It's in our nature. We ain't perfect. Exactly right. And if we wait until we're perfect, we're going to be waiting a really long time, and we're going to be dead before that happens. So even in our non-perfection, that's my made-up word for tonight,
He's grammaring.
our friends, our schools, our families, and, in this group we talked about even the strangers, need us to be lights, need us to be Christians in plain sight. We need to be looking for those opportunities. We need to be looking for those openings up in conversations and situations. Mostly we ignore them. Mostly we're not even thinking about them. And of course, since we're not perfect, we're going to mess this up from time to time, whether it's in the how we present something, right? Or the fact that we miss out on an opportunity. Most of the times we look for forgiveness. And when we get it right, when things are really clicking, I don't know about you, I've had a couple of those conversations where it's like, God's in this conversation right now, and it is going awesome. When we get it right, rather than becoming prideful, I made that happen. Right? We're humble about it. Because we didn't make it happen. God made it happen. So I want to leave you with the question, how bright do you let your light shine day to day? I'm going to pray, and then I have a song to play for you. No, I'm not actually instrumentally going to play something for you. It is an MP3 that we will be playing for you that fit perfectly with this message. So, and it's an awesome song, and it has the quote, and yeah. So, let's pray. Lord Jesus, may our actions, may our words, may our attitudes show that we are indeed your followers. Lord, may we be lights shining in the darkness. May we be lamps on a stand. Lord, forgive us when we fall short. Help us to realize when that's actually the case. Help us not to become prideful. Help us to change. Help us to be your followers in a world of darkness. Lord, thank you.